All right, so today we're going to start getting into some more of the nitty gritty and getting some exercises done to help you with your breathing. We're going to mainly be looking at our rib angle and our rib movement today, or our rib mobility. So, our rib angle. A normal rib angle is about 90 degrees if you were to trace your ribs down. And what you can see is when they're 90 degrees, your diastasis or the middle of your core is really well supported. So it's going to be nice and narrow. Now, if you have a flared rib cage, we're not supporting our core as much. And you can see it's much harder for our diastasis to narrow and regain a functional core. So what tends to happen is if your rib angle is greater than 90 degrees, you'll start to see some compensation strategies come in. So mainly this is a lack of core or a lack of core balance in the muscles. So we've got our rectus abdominis, our oblique muscles, internal and external, and our TVAs. And often they can cause a lack of balance in those muscles and how they fire. You'll also start to see an increase in psoas activity. Now, the psoas is one of the hip flexor muscles. It's the longest one, and it goes from around your leg and then your pelvis all the way up and back into your spine, near where your diaphragm sits. It's actually the only muscle that connects both the upper and lower body together. So it's really important. And this increase in activity will lead to its tightness. And that can lead to that anterior pelvic tilt, that little curve in your lower back as well, and increased back pain. A flared rib cage will also lead to increased paraspinal activity. So that's those muscles up either side of your spine. And so often your back is going to feel really tight. So we really want to get those ribs in and that core connected before working any of your back muscles more. And this is really going to help the front of your core. So let's start by checking your rib cage now. So what I want you to do is I want you to pause this video and grab one of your kids' washable markers. And I mean washable. We're going to be drawing on ourselves. And we're going to actually draw our ribs and see what angle they make. You may find this kind of tricky to do on yourself. You may find standing up and marking it in front of a mirror is easiest, and some people find it easier when you're lying down. So do what you need to. But pause this now and go grab that pen. Okay, so what I want you to do is do that outline of the rib cage, and I want you to look and see what angle does it make. Does it make a 90-degree angle, or is it wider? So here you can see, this is my one. You can see it's nearly 90. I would say one of them is flared out a little bit further than the other. In this rib cage here, this you can see it's wider than 90, probably about 110. And this one's even wider still. Okay. I want you to check what is the angle that your ribs make, and is one flared out further than the other? Okay. Now, this is such a great thing. Take a photo of it as well because it's such a great feedback mechanism. So, we measure our diastasis, but this is also something that you can visibly see and check to see whether you're getting a better angle. So make sure you do take that photo. Feel free to post it so we can comment below as well. It is really possible to have one rib flared more than the other. And in fact, it's actually very common. What tends to happen is your left side has the heart and the liver on it. So that internally it's unbalanced to start with. And then if you tend to always lean on one armrest or always carry your child on one hip, this is also going to cause one rib side to be more flared than the other. Okay, so just take note of all of this. When we talk about rib flaring, there are two ways that our ribs can be flared. So one is when that rib angle is greater than the 90 degrees on one or both sides. Or you can also get that rib flaring where your ribs are flared upwards, which is often with a back arch or really, really tight backness, especially that mid backness, causing these ribs to flare up. Both of these things are not great for your diastasis. This flaring your ribs up tends to open up your diastasis and stretch it apart. And as we've talked about, the wide ribs stop that support system happening in order to bring it together as well. All right, now looking at our rib mobility. So, as I've been saying with all this breathing talk, our ribs should move. And just like any other part of our body, we can help them move. So people who need help with this and doing some of these exercises we're going to be going through are people who have the flared ribs, either out or up, or anyone with a lateral shift. So one side flares out more than the other. Now this is me showing you a bit of an extreme case. So if you have no lateral shift in your body, your ribs should be at a fairly even angle. Now, if you have a lateral shift, and you'll see if you look straight on in the mirror, you'll see that you're slightly to one side. Maybe because you're always carrying your child on the side that's in, or maybe you drive a lot and you lean on the door, or you often sit in an office chair leaning on one side. So this is going to cause that one side to flare out more than the other. So let's get on to some rib mobility exercises. We're going to work on all of the ribs on one side at the same time to help reverse the impacts of our day activities of daily living or our breathing patterns that we have. And in this series, though, we won't be looking at individual rib mobility. Now, individual rib mobility can be done. You can go through and move one rib because ribs, there are joints there, and it is totally possible for one of the rib joints to get stuck, and you'll be amazed at how that can impact a hip or even a knee problem when just one rib is stuck. We're not going to go through onto that because it's much more in depth. A chiropractor or even a massage therapist can help with this. You can do some myofascial release work as well, and you can do some individual rib mobility work, but I think it's something that a bit of a more in-depth course should be going through. So instead, this time we're going to be just looking at moving the ribs as a whole on one side. The exercises we're going to look at are some rib mobility breathing. We're also going to look at some exercises with a band. We're going to look at arm raises, and we're going to look at some arm reach exercises. I'm going to post the videos of these exercises separately, so make sure you check out each of those individual exercise videos for the instructions and give them a go.